Dear friends, good morning. In the last week, we discussed about interviews. I hope you have gone through it and it had been of some use to you. If you have any queries, feel free to ask, any clarifications, any doubts. Interview is one such thing where it's going to decide about your future, means how you are going to be placed in your career. But today I am going to discuss about another set of interview, but that is very clearly categorized as group discussions. So today I am going to discuss about group discussions followed by verbal communication. Now here let me make a little bit of clarification. You remember that when I was talking about the soft skill, in which there was a last set of skills called verbal communication, which I deliberately deferred, because I thought that let this be discussed when it is appropriately being applied. And this is a situation where appropriately this verbal communication is going to be more meaningful. Body language I have discussed, non-verbal communication, in which I have discussed this during the interview. Now what happens is, in the group discussion, it is more of a verbal communication and less of a body language, but both are important in this. So I will be discussing about the verbal communication just after I discuss over the group discussions. Then you will find in the following weeks, when I will discuss about the negotiations, marketing strategies, and also the time management. In such cases, you will find that all your skills are going to be used combinedly. So the next 3 weeks lectures are going to be making applications of anything that you have learned till today. Okay. Now group discussions, very commonly known as GD. I have advised at one point that you usually don't use acronyms. So if you say that I have the interview and then I have a GD, of course your fraternity, your friends, they will understand. But it is always better that you can always say that there is going to be an interview followed by a group discussion. It is courteous to say that. But however, since most of you are familiar with this word called GD, I used it additionally. The first thing is to be understood is what is the general structure of a group discussion. Group discussion simply comes to a stage when you have applied for a job. Through very rigorous scrutiny, you have been then shortlisted for calling for the interview. Then you have been interviewed. Gradually, by sieving, you will find the number of candidates applied and then number of candidates shortlisted, and then number of candidates invited for interview and the number of candidates invited for group discussion. Gradually the list will become smaller, shorter and shorter and shorter. Finally, after this, you will find that there will be a selection made. In some cases, group discussion is held before. That okay, they do the first shortlisting of the candidates from the group discussion. Then they call them for individual interview. It makes quite a good sense. During group discussion, people are observed and then they are brought in here. It is essentially to see that how those people are performing in groups, whether they are now worthy of calling for the interview. So it is, I am not pressing on a situation that interview first and the group discussion next. It's only I have placed it here, interview I have discussed, now I am going to discuss over the group discussion. It is the discretion of the organization who is conducting this selections process, in which they will decide when it's going to be. Before interview and group discussion, there had been a stage where there had been a written test, and I mentioned about it that the written test is nothing but testing your hard skills. And then when it comes to group discussion and the interview, it's a soft skill that matters the most. Okay, what is the structure? Usually, say 10, 12 persons in a group. What they will do is, if there's a large number of candidates, then they will divide into multiple groups and they will conduct the group discussions parallelly maybe, if they have brevity of time, and if the time is fine, time is adequate, then they might have it one after another. When this 10 to 12 persons are selected for a group, there may be some process by which they will be selecting. It may be by their background checks, background qualifications, or it may be the kind of positions that they are vying it for. It may be the kind of classification of the candidates in terms of their prima facie scrutiny of the applications. So, it doesn't matter to us. We need not really elaborate on why you are chosen in one of the groups, but say there is a 10 to 12 persons in a group. Why the group size is kept generally small? See, 10 to 12 is also a good number, but it is basically all these group discussions will be held in a room, and the room will have a central large table. When the table becomes too large and the group becomes too large, in such cases the interviewer or the I would say the examiners who are watching, evaluators who are watching all the candidates, it becomes difficult for them to focus on different people, because during the group discussion you don't expect that the evaluator is evaluating the person who is speaking at that instant. No, evaluator is watching everybody's reaction. Evaluator is watching that person who is speaking at this particular moment, and then also parallelly watching all others, their reactions, because they are going to make a selection out of these entire set. So, 10 to 12 is a very reasonable number, which usually in a table of say 8 to 10 feet can be all right. What is the shape of the table? It can be pure rectilinear, okay, or it can be semicircular or round. So, it is 10 to 12 in a group. There can be multiple such groups. See, the thing is, if there are more than 4 or 5 such groups, depending on the number of candidates that they are shortlisting and calling for the GD, it may so happen that when they are making again a shortlisting of the candidates out of those groups, and then there will be again call for another group discussion. It is just to see the equivalence of the candidate's stature or the emotional intelligence or the manifestations. It is like this: 5 groups of 10 each, 50 candidates shortlisted out of the scrutiny, okay, and the 5 groups 10 each, 50. So, now from each group, say they will select 2. So, now you have 5 groups. So, it will become then 10. So, 2 from that each group, now they will be called again for the GD, and then out of the 10 they will select only 2. That is how the whole GD goes on. Okay, so, there could be multiple groups. The table is usually, it can be a semicircular one, it can be a full circular one, or it can be a rectilinear one, whatever it is. Also, it can be oval as well. See, what is the basic idea? Basic idea is, during the group discussion, everybody should be able to see the other person. This visibility has to be ensured by the evaluators or the selection committee members, whoever are organizing. If anybody is speaking, others are listening, eye contact is must. You must have seen the menace of a long rectilinear table, that somebody who sits in this corner, when he is speaking diagonally, because he wants to get the attention of most of the people. But the person who is on the same edge on the left hand side, I can assure you, after 2 persons, after that speaker, 2 persons after, the person whoever is sitting does not have any eye contact with this person. Then what happens is, he bends forward to look at the person. The moment he bends forward to look at the person, the other person who is sitting on the left, he is being deprived of the visibility. So, he also bends. So, everybody finally keeps on bending on the table to have a good look of that particular person. This is resolved architecturally by making an oval table. Okay? So, if the table is oval, that is the best. But quite often I have seen that group discussion has been held on a rectangular table. The reason is that wherever they are organizing, they did not really realize, and there was no requisition earlier for this. So, naturally the table turned out to be rectilinear, which was available. Okay? But the best is the circular, best. But if it is a circular table, then it has to be a very large table. The moment it becomes a very large table, then the pairwise distance increases. So, the group discussion matters a lot, because you have to really sense other people's reaction to interject or to add, to corroborate, to appreciate. Okay. Then comes the topics. A topic is suggested by the evaluator. How? Depending on what is the requirement of that particular position for which people are vying for, the evaluators will decide a topic, or maybe they may select more than one topics, and then they give options to the entire group by lottery or by raising, by consciences, general consciences, common consciences, or by voting, that whichever topic you'd like to select. So ultimately, one topic will be selected. So the topic is suggested by the evaluator. Sometime, not every time, the evaluator he wants to see that what is the kind of topic these candidates are going to bring forward. So it might so happen, very, very strategically, the evaluator would ask that I don't have any topic. Do you want to suggest any topic? Then immediately the 10, 12 persons, they have to write down that topic, and the evaluator will take just 1 or 2 minutes to review all and select one, and then float that particular topic for group discussion. That's how it goes on. The topic generated by the group, as I said. Okay, so the topic either is selected by the evaluator or generated by the group. Time limit. See, too long group discussion will make it diluted. It is good enough is 30 minutes to 60 minutes at the most. Beyond that, it becomes boring, it becomes irrelevant, people start talking irrelevantly, and it does not really converge to anything, it doesn't get concluded. So it's 30 minutes is a very reasonable time, and 30 minutes is not less. Apparently 30 minutes it just passes by, but when somebody speaks, it's just like if you allow a person to speak for 5 minutes, it becomes quite a long time. Within 3 minutes, if anybody can put their point forward. Here what happens in the group discussion, each individual is going to put their points. They are not going to give a lecture. So it is not meant that they will give lecture. They will only put forward their points, either in favor or contesting it or against or objecting to somebody's opinions or corroborating somebody's opinion. Whatever it is, 3 minutes each is good enough a time. And 3 minutes, if you ever try to speak for 3 minutes continuously, you will find it's quite a long time. Now 3 minutes into 10, 30 minutes. But I expect that since it will be a back and forth discussions, so it cannot be really concluded in 30 minutes. If the size is smaller, it can be 30 minutes. But the thing is, if the whole day goes on for this kind of group discussions, it does not really yield any good results. So it is the selection committee, they will decide how much time they would like to give to individual and then total it up, and that is the final time. There is another thing. This time which is given is declared. It is declared, and if necessary, the evaluator might put a time clock over there, a timer, to see how much time it is taking. And that means everybody has to really have a very clear conception of a perception of how much time he has been allotted to. If it is suppose 10 candidates and 30 minutes, maybe people may feel it's very short, I cannot finish my talks within it. But again, I said it's not a lecture that is expected, it is the viewpoints which are expected. Okay, yet suppose it is 30 minutes given to you, you have to do it within that 30 minutes. That's all, nothing beyond, no extra time will be given. And in that, if somebody did not get a scope to speak, then it should not be always attributed to the person who spoke more. It can be attributed to the person who did not raise his point and ultimately penetrated the whole discussion to put his point forward. So the time limit. Time limit is flexible depending on the evaluator's choice. In this, everybody has to participate voluntarily. Nobody will be there to say, okay, now this is your turn, you please speak. Okay, you stop, now please, the other gentleman, you speak. No, nobody is going to control, nobody is going to guide these discussions. Once the topic has been given and the time has been framed and declared, and then the evaluator simply sit quietly and watch to see that who volunteers the first move. That's also important. Who volunteers the first move? If everybody is expecting that the evaluator will decide the turn, like say one should start from here, it can be. It can so happen the evaluator, just to save that time of little bit of doubt amongst the mind of the participants that who is supposed to start, evaluators may say that okay, I am floating this particular topic, it is to be initiated by this person, he may do it, and then after that it's open house. Okay, he may give a kind of what we call as a kickstart of the whole discussion, but most often during the GD, once the topic has been given and the time has been declared, then the evaluator doesn't prefer to give any person an opportunity to begin. It is to see that who is the person who has a very strong soft skill of beginning a discussion. That's very, very important for any of the groups. Okay, so everybody has to participate voluntarily. Nobody will be invited to say now. That means everybody has to find out his own time to penetrate the discussion, interject by interjecting or by whatever gestures, body languages, whatever, okay, without any fight, simply entering into the discussion and then starts putting point forward. Okay. In case the evaluator finds that there is somebody who didn't get a chance to speak, two things will happen. I said it can be attributed to his weakness of penetrating or communication skill. But at the same time, evaluator also wants to see the person who may be weak in this communication skill, but does he have any strong point to say? Maybe he might come out with a very, very brilliant idea. So somebody who had been remaining quiet or didn't get a chance to speak, then it's evaluator's responsibility to poke him, coax him to say something. Nobody in the group discussion can ever remain quiet. Take this point forward. Okay. Then after the group, almost at the fag end of the group discussion, one of the participants will be requested to volunteer to summarize. See, as I said, that one person may be requested to begin the group discussion. Here, one person may be requested to volunteer to summarize. Now, when it is requested to volunteer, that means the evaluator is not pinpointing on any person, any specific person. He is simply saying, now the time is coming to an end, we have only 3 minutes. Is there anybody who would like to volunteer for summarizing it? And then they watch who is the person who is volunteering. All these are nothing but your manifestation of skills, soft skills, of how you take care and take control of the entire discussion and ultimately volunteer. They are watching what? They are watching who is volunteering for conclusion, summarizing. They would watch who is volunteering for beginning the group discussion. They will watch who is volunteering to say something. They will also watch who is not volunteering to say anything or whose viewpoints are not very strong. So in the whole general structure, you can always, in your institution, if you belong to an institution, if you are a student, then I would always suggest that let there be a mock group discussions. The mock group discussions amongst the students are quite often held when there are impromptu debates, impromptu discussions, by which this can be imbibed. So this learning process is internal. You have to do. There may be some workshops, there may be some classes who are teaching this. There may be some training group institutions who are training people how to appear for the interview. The way I said, the way I'm saying that group discussion, maybe that somebody coming to me, a group of students coming to me and trying to understand, when I will tell them it's nothing but training. Okay, this is what I'm trying to forward to you. Now, there are certain guidelines that you should honor. That guideline for this is, there should be discussion on that topic from all point of view. There should be really no bias. If there is a topic which has been floated by the organizer, by the evaluator, then the discussion of the topic should be from all point of view, positive, negative. It's just like debate. In debate, there is one person who is for the motion, another person who is against the motion. The person who is against the motion may be a believer of for the motion, but he is such a good orator that his skill is reflected through finding out the points against the motion and winning the debate. So it is basically all things depend on the intellectual exercises and the communication skills and the soft skills. How one can convince others with negative points. Every point in life will have one side of it which is positive, there could be always another side of it which is negative. So the thing is, that's why the debate becomes so interesting. Today, if you find that somebody who is speaking for the motion for this particular topic, the next day you float it, he goes to the against the motion. That means he is intellectually so strong that he knows which points are to be placed for the motion and which points are to be placed against the motion. And generally in debates, essentially, here the group discussion very much tends to be debate like, but I will put a note of cautioning, you will see after. In debate, what happens is the person who raises the points or configures the points and then ultimately convinces the House against the motion always thinks about the points for the motion. And then first he frames for the motion, then he cuts each and every point that he configured as a for the motion, and he creates his own logic, his understanding, his points against the motion. In general, they are the winner. That's how it is. So, okay, so the discussion on the topic should be from all points of view. You take account of all aspects before taking a decision. You know what happens in the group discussion when you have a topic and you are talking, you are bringing forward your points. You don't be, single-minded. By being single-minded, it might sound to be, pressing, pushing. But the thing is, when you are contested on that particular point, then you should have sufficient amount of answer or logic to, challenge that contest. So if suppose before, deciding what you are going to speak, it's a split-second affair in the mind. If you decide that what you want to speak, what are the points which you are going to put forward, and take account of all aspects. Give opportunity to everyone in the group. This is a very strong point. Dear friends, please do follow it. You are being watched not only for how do you speak, you are also being watched how well you accommodate everybody in the group discussion. You yourself accommodate everybody in the group discussion. Your group discussion does not, your speaking does not mean that you are the winner. It may be that you spoke very little, but you accommodated everybody, made everybody so comfortable in the group that you become a leader, because the leader is not the person like a political leader who has been always saying something on his own. The leader can be an army leader who speaks very little. He gives only pinpointed instructions to some and then spread that particular instructions to the lower rungs so that the orders are executed. So here in this, give opportunity to everyone. Your ideas and statements should be always focused to the topic. I have seen in many cases, not only in group discussion, even in conversations or even in just general discussions. Of course, means if you sit on a one of the chai shop, tea shop, and then we keep on talking on one topic, and say 5 of us in a group are discussing, that's also group discussion. Okay, in such cases, basically, ideas and statements must be focused on the topic. Let there be no beating around the bush on the topic. Let them be very focused. If you want to say something which is very focused to this, and don't bring in any kind of examples which are irrelevant to this. And also don't, there are many do's and don'ts I'll talk about, but what is coming in my mind, let me share with you, that don't ever, if somebody is putting some point forward, if you see that it is within the domain of the topic, appreciate it. If it is beyond the topic, then in that case you just cut it there itself, cut it, saying that okay, this is irrelevant, let's not discuss about it, come to the point. That's how you do it. You take care of the group. For God's sake, never convert or turn the group discussion in a debate. This I mentioned earlier. A group discussion where one person is saying something, another person is contesting. There are multiple viewpoints, there are oblique viewpoints, there are aligned viewpoints, all these are coming. Okay, there is likeliness that the group discussion will turn out to be a debate. And in the debate, it is not necessary, as in the debate we have a for the motion and against the motion. In group discussion, it is not necessary that everybody has to say something which the others have said, the opposite of that. No, it is not necessary. It can so happen in the group discussion that somebody has put a point forward, you can always support him, corroborate him and say, okay, this is what it is, what he has said, I am additionally giving some points. Okay, so never turn the GD into a debate. If the evaluator finds that some people are trying to convert or turn this particular GD into debate, then immediately marks negative for them. And here, what happens, let me tell you, in the group discussion, how it is evaluated. The evaluator will have a checklist. He'll make his own prepared checklist, and that checklist he will never show to the candidates who are appearing for the group discussion. In that checklist, he will put all those points forward. First of all, the volunteering skill, how one volunteers. Accommodating skill, how he is accommodating the groups. Penetration skill, that how he penetrates into the discussion. The concluding skill, that how he concludes. The positive points putting forward or stressing the points. There will be many such attributes or criteria that they are looking for in a candidate during selection, and they will write everything. Okay, and each one of them, then there will be candidate's name over there, and they will keep on giving a grade over there, say out of 10 or out of 5, whatever is convenient for them to compute, okay, for each one of them. Whenever somebody is speaking, then immediately that particular person's assessment will start, and it will start. Then many of the slots will be filled up with certain points. After that, when another person is speaking, this other person's assessment starts, but mind it, also the person who spoke before is being watched. Not only that, the person who spoke before that also being watched. So everybody is going to be watched, and if there is any negative that comes into the eye of the evaluator, he will put that negative marking in that particular point. So ultimately they will add it up and see that whoever earns the maximum. Here also, if suppose out of those attributes, there are certain attributes which are having higher weightage compared to the other attributes, there can be some lower weighted attributes. So they will also put a weighted value to that, and then finally compute it statistically. It's a very simple Excel exercise which they can do, and then by multiplying the weights of individual weights of these attributes which they have listed over here with the value that they have earned against each of the person, then multiply with that attributes, how much the cell value will be finally there, and then finally add it up. So this person total is basically the overall attributes that the person has earned. So mind it, throughout the GD operations, you are being watched, you are under scanner. Some people, I'm talking about the evaluators, what they do is they put the camera on. They don't take a decision about somebody or immediately after the group discussion. They put the camera on, they put the sound on, rather I would say that the whole video on. Okay. Later on they sit quietly with the expert group and evaluates each person's moves. So dear friend, during group discussion, every move of yours is going to be recorded or watched. Be very careful. So here, this suggestion you keep in mind. You'd be lucky that if there is no such recording of that or camera towards all of you, you'll be lucky. But at the same time, if such situation occurs, then the evaluator will be a very strong person that instantly he is watching and evaluating and put the marks. So that will rather decide about your fate. Then comes not censure the ideas of others. What is censuring? Censuring is just to prove that you are right. If somebody is putting a point forward, you cut it, you reject it, you object to it, you contest it. This is basically a censuring. See, a good decision maker does not necessarily a person who always says the right and the others are saying wrong. No. Good decision maker is a person who takes everybody's positive points, adds it up, and then negates all the negativities and all the added points he puts forward as a decision. That's a good decision maker. And in the group discussion, in the GD, basically people are being selected for decision making. And in the decision making board, when there will be multiple people speaking, just like boardroom discussion, multiple people speaking, it's nothing but a very, very sophisticated group discussion. So mind it, today you are sitting here for recruitment purposes. Tomorrow you may be sitting in the boardroom as a director of the company, or maybe one of the top decision maker of the company for taking decision, the group discussion you're having. Okay, so never have the mindset to censure others. In group discussion, all of you are at the same level. That means all of you are contesting for a position. But in the boardroom, there may be a chairman, there may be a secretary, there may be other hierarchical persons. In such cases, there is quite possibility that the chairman is going to censure others. Maybe that if he is authorized to do that, it is fine. But the good chairman, the very good leader, will never censure others. and give equal opportunity to everybody to air their views, and then finally, just pick up all the positive points. Then he makes his own statement and ultimately gives us a decision of the board. That's how it is. Okay, good and clear communication. You must have noticed one thing. I've changed the color of this particular line for a reason. Group discussion very much depends on your verbal communication. Okay, I said it's more of verbal communication and less of body language. In the interview, it's a verbal communication but more of a body language. Okay, so here in this, a good and clear communication skill, especially whether it is non-verbal communication or verbal communication, most often it is a verbal communication. Okay, well thought out ideas with facts and figures. Whenever you are presenting your cases, it should be very well thought out. The facts and figures should be right. Never give bluff. During the GD, never give bluff. Already during the interview, I said that don't lie. If you lie, your body language will show. People can make out that you are lying. Here too, never give facts and figures which are wrong, and never give false figures. Always make a logical presentation. The logical presentation, when you do, you will find your logical presentation is going to lift you up. If you are very logical, if your facts and figures are very right, if you are very to the point, then you will find the others are also likely to support you. In the group discussion, quite often I have heard that somebody takes a lead from the other person, cue from the other person, saying that yes, I have to say something, I will start with the point where he ended. That means if suppose you are the person from where he is taking the lead, that means you are now the leader first at this particular point. Okay, then he continues and keeps on adding to the whole thing. This is also a very good gesture of the person who is speaking next, and because he is taking the lead. So he is a very positive minded person. He is not the person who is trying to show others that what he is saying is rubbish and what I am saying is the right. Okay, so logical presentation is important. Influence on the group. How do you influence the group? Basically your body language, your speaking style, your eye contacts, your smile, your overall stature, your personality, your poise, all these keep on playing role at a time. This is a very interesting game. Here it cannot be really mathematically expressed. It just happens. The moment you find in a group that there will be one person everybody starts liking, for many reasons. Maybe that you have not really interacted, but the person is speaking. Look at him and you have a feeling that this person seems to be a gentle person, and he is having a nice personality, and he started with respect to everybody, and once he entered the room he looked at everybody and gave it a smile. So all this starts playing positive role. Okay, and then when he speaks, everybody first listens to him, lends him a ear, and then if he is saying something wrong, then you have a right to say opposite to it or contest it. So influence in the group is another point which comes in. During the GD, try to remain brief and be lucid. Don't use jargons. Don't use catchy words. You remember I said this earlier, that when you communicate, when you say something, don't use like all these kind of things. If I give you a choice basket, don't use this kind of term. No, you say very clearly, lucidly, if I give you multiple options, then it sounds better. Okay, the point is, if you are using jargons, you may be expressing or you may be trying to reflect that how good you are in English speaking, but here they are not looking for an English teacher. They are looking for a person who is speaking in English but expressing his viewpoints very lucidly to others, so that it immediately reaches the mind of the listener. Okay, so be brief, be lucid and to the point. You will definitely win and arrive at a conclusion. When the whole group discussion goes on, as it starts with a topic, then it also has to end with a conclusion. And this conclusion, whoever is speaking last, almost coming to the last by virtue of the whole game plan, then he should really pick up quickly the opportunity of concluding, because he knows after this the ball will be passed on to the person who spoke earlier. So if the person who starts, look here, the person who starts, he has the advantage of starting a point. not being very concerned about who is going to speak what, because he's the first opportunity he starts, he is in advantage. Whatever is in his mind, he will be speaking, and the person who speaks last has the advantage of concluding it. So there is, you decide where you want to be. There are persons you must have seen, I've told earlier, who wants to speak the last. Also, I'll talk about them here. The person who wants to speak the last, he keeps quiet all through, tries to keep quiet all through, take everybody's point, and ultimately, he frames his own idea, and then he puts a point forward in such a manner as if the whole people had been talking irrelevant things and he is speaking sense. This is also another style of the leader. This is also another style of various administrative bosses, the bureaucrats. They pick up, they give chance to everybody, they allow everybody to speak. Does that mean that he cannot speak? He allows everybody to speak, positive, negative. He keeps on noting down the positive points and the negative points, and he makes a mental note. You will not be able to make out. They are trained for that. They will just simply sit and listen to everybody, every individual like this, and keep a mental note of the positive points and negative points. He does not bother who said what, who is the person who said positive or negative. He just picks up the positive and negative points, and ultimately, end of all, giving opportunity to everybody, he concludes saying, okay gentlemen, so you have expressed your viewpoint, I have heard it, now let me come out with the resolution of it. He immediately lists back the positive points which he wants to instruct and the negative points which he wants to discard. And finally, you will find everybody is trying to say, yes, what you are saying is right, sir. Actually, yes, this is what it is. Basically, who supplied the points, positive or negative, to this boss? All of you. So mind it, in the group discussion, the person who concludes is probably the smartest person. But again, I'll put a note of cautioning. Don't try to be smartest every time. Then there will be another smart person who can also cut you at that particular point. Is that all right? I'll discuss further on this in the next lectures. Thank you very much.